Okay, hello and welcome to today's session in the MSDynamicsWorld.com Spring 2014 CRM webcast series. I'm Jason Gumpert, and we are joined today by two true CRM experts and veterans, Rick McCutcheon of Full Contact Selling and Lon Orenstein of Living Business Online. They are here to share some of the latest ways to make a positive impact on sales practices with Dynamics CRM 2013, and we are really pleased to have them here with us today. As we get started, I just want to add that we do invite you to add your feedback and ask questions today during Rick and Lon's presentation. You can ask questions throughout, and we'll be checking the question queue. There's a Q&A block that you'll see on the right there, and we encourage you to use that. You can also feel free to tweet your thoughts or questions. We're going to be using a hashtag MSDWCRM to monitor that. So without further delay, please allow me to welcome our first presenter today, Rick McCutcheon. Rick, you
Thanks, Jason. Yes, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, fantastic. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your busy days to talk about CRM and how we can potentially power up your sales. So I'm going to go through a set of slides, talk to you about sales methodologies and how technology has impacted those methodologies and what we can do as sales professionals, CRM professionals, management to really empower our people to do more with CRM. And then I'm going to have my good friend Lon Orenstein come on and show you in CRM specifically how a salesperson would go through the day of the life and be able to use it to make them more productive and just present an overall better sales experience. So a little bit of my background. I've been in CRM since the early 90s. I'm kind of a leading strategist, writer, and I'll call myself a CRM coach. I get in companies from a perspective of how do we take CRM and embed it in our sales organizations and improve sales process. So I do a lot of organizations from small businesses right to international organizations. I've done a lot of writing. I do a lot of speaking for Dynamics communities, for MSDynamics.com, and a lot of other CRM-based organizations. And you can find my blog on the Microsoft Dynamics community website. So let's get into the session. And whenever I talk about CRM, I always talk about the promise of CRM. Where are we going with this? What are we doing with this? And when I talk to organizations about how we use CRM, I really get into, what it does to your organization and the philosophy. I don't get tied up in the technology as much, even though I am a Microsoft Dynamics MVP and know a lot about the technology itself. I really get people to start thinking about the power of CRM and the power of process. So I always use CRM as a business philosophy. It lets you know your customers, prospects, and partners better. And sometimes we forget about those partners out there who can help us sell more, share information more thoroughly, and interact more completely. This is achieved by creating a system that integrates people, process, and CRM, and I'm going to add related technologies. We have different sponsors on our session today, like Silverpop, who have an add-on technology that allows you to do email marketing and web-based marketing from your system. And there's a lot of other related technologies now in this Microsoft ecosystem for gamification, so your salespeople can, compete on game boards against each other. There's applications that embed the HR methodology. There's applications that do just about everything that tie into CRM. And it's becoming a very, very powerful information base for many organizations and is spreading out very quickly across different departments. But today we're going to talk about sales. And when I talk about the salespeople, I deal with them on sort of some different levels. So I'll come into an organization and I'll say, tell me what you sell, tell me how you sell it, tell me who you sell it to. And let's talk about sort of that relationship. And over the last 20 years, I've done this with hundreds of salespeople. And I've come up with some of the, promises of sales success and what I see in sales organizations that succeed. So a great salesperson uses CRM, but they continue to extend their personal knowledge base. They're effective communicators. They're seen as high-value partners to their customers, and they know how to talk about the ROI of what their products and services can deliver. They're good time managers. They're focused. They're self-motivated. They're strong relationship builders. They know about their business community, but we're seeing more and more 7 and 8 coming into play. They know how to effectively leverage technology in their own business. And when I say own business, most salespeople see their territory, see their customers, see their prospects, see the partners that they're working with as their own business. And then, number 8, they work a repeatable sales process. And this is key for when we're talking about CRM. It's that repeatable sales process that we take that lead, put it through to prospect, make it an opportunity, close it, and we bring it back around. That's important. But what technology allows us to do is get into really a team selling situation. I'm going to talk a lot about that as we go through this session today, and Lon will show you a lot of things. So, as we get talking about sales success, there's hundreds of books, thousands of, gurus and seminars and everything you can talk about sales success, and it all seems complicated, and I think people make it too complicated. So I really think at the basis of it, it's really building a system of best practices for your organization to create leads, to qualify leads, move them to prospects, move those prospects through a sales cycle, make them customers, and manage them properly as customers. We're going to talk about how CRM allows you to do that, and then upsell, resell, cross-sell, whatever terminology we want to use to that existing customer base, or ask them for referrals, come back, make new leads, make new prospects, and grow your business. If we look at any top producing salesperson, whether they use CRM or not, they have this process in their head. They know how to do it, and they have a system they use for doing it. It's when we're rolling out CRM to a salesperson, we got to take in mind that we're trying to replace their thought process sometimes and their personal systems with this technology. So I'm going to talk to you today how to do that, how to get it out of the minds of the salesperson, get agreement on it, understand this process, then embed this process in CRM technology. Another thing that is extremely important about CRM, and as I go into many organizations, I see this as a huge problem. Why do your customers leave? Now, this was a study done a ways back by one of the telcos when they studied why people switched telcos, right? So 3% moved away, 9% of their customers left them because of price, 14% were not happy, 6% had another reason, but look at the towering inferno of neglect. We look at neglect, and it's 68% said they switched suppliers because of neglect. Now, when I saw this study, I said, this is so relative to CRM. I go into many organizations, and the best customer base they have is in their accounting system, and the only contact that the corporation owns is the person they send bills to. They don't have that profile of people, and I'm going to talk about that profile of people that they do business with. So if they don't have that profile of people in their CRM, how do you follow up? How do you touch base? How do you build a repeatable sales process and a repeatable customer experience for them? You can't, because this information is out and about. It's in spreadsheets, it's in Outlook, it's who knows where, in the hands of your sales team or your administrators or your marketing department. So this is what happens. We eventually neglect, not the companies, but the people we do business with at those companies, and then they leave because of neglect. Now, after talking about this study for many years, I started thinking, wow, neglect 68%. How about that not happy? 14%. How much of that is neglect? 9% price. How much is that neglect? And 3% they moved away and you didn't know it. That's total neglect. So I think neglecting your customer base is probably 70 to 80 to 90% of why they leave. And if we go back and we look at most organizations, they make the most money off their existing customers. So I've done a whole session of, the ROI on CRM, and I always talk about what is the value of your customer data in your CRM system, and to many organizations, it's worth millions of dollars. So back to selling. Really interesting stats have come out in the last couple of years about the buying process. And many of us who've been around for a number of years have seen the real changes between how we used to sell in the early 90s to how we sell in 2014, right? According to Challenger Sale, which is a study that was done a couple of years ago on the sales process, the customer now is 57% through their due diligence process before they touch your salesperson. This becomes really, really interesting, because when we start to look at this, we start to say, well, if I interview salespeople and I ask them when does the sales process start, it starts when the lead is created in the system, when it comes in the door, when we met them at the trade show. But actually, it started a long time ago. So that's a different session than we're going to do today. But what I'm saying is technology is very important. We need to use things that are like SilverPop, like HubSpot, like Click Dimensions out there to be able to have this interaction between our websites and these prospects that are out there. Interaction between our social media sites and what's going on. You know, Jason said we're going to answer questions on Twitter today, right? As sales management and marketing management, how does Twitter affect our sales process? How does Facebook? How does LinkedIn? A lot of things are going on out there, and I'm working with a lot of organizations right now trying to figure this all out. So today, let's talk about Salesforce automation metrics. We're going to talk about leads, right? And this is what's important around leads and prospects. As a sales team, we need to talk about the quality of the leads, the quantity of leads, the best source of leads, what the cost of those leads were, and what are the close rates on leads. So when we start to talk around the metrics of CRM, very, very important that we capture information and understand what's going on with this information. Customers, and I talked a little bit about that. What's our retention rates? What's our upselling rates? Where do we go for referrals? What do we do for relationships with us? Do we have a matrix? A customers, B customers, and C customers? What type of activities are going on out there? What kind of calls are we making? What meetings are we having? What kind of tasks are we doing? You know, can we go and evaluate this information across our sales organization to say, hey, our most successful salespeople don't make the most calls. Maybe our salespeople who are successful have the most meetings. So data that comes back to us to make our sales process true and better, we need to be able to capture that. And competition. Who are they? Where are they? You know, why are we competing and how are we competing against them? One of the things that I see in CRM that's left out many, many times is, simple thing on the opportunity manager where we can track which competitors we're against in a deal. And to me, it's really important, and to most VP of sales and most marketing organizations, really, really important, because we want to know who we beat on deals, but what we really want to know too is who we lost to, why we lost to them, when we lost to them. What salesperson keeps losing to them? So maybe it's a training thing, maybe it's a regional pricing thing, maybe it's a branding thing in certain areas. So we want to be able to evaluate this. And the reason we want to be able to evaluate sales metrics, in my mind, is I want to make better use of a lead. So let's say, for example, we had a pretty good sales force and we had 100 leads come in, and we closed 20 of those leads over the time of the buying process. Well, if I get really good at understanding leads, I get really good at understanding activities, I get really good at understanding the competition, and I can move that from closing 20 leads to closing 30 leads, theoretically, I've increased sales 50% on the same amount of leads. So by defining metrics, defining processes, and using tools like CRM, it makes it possible to do this. You cannot do it without use of CRM. You cannot do it using Outlook. You cannot do it using Excel spreadsheets. You really need to use CRM, and I'm going to show you why here. Here is what I call the full contact selling process. So when we start designing sales processes for organizations, they're more complex than this. But when we teach, we sort of teach at this level. So, we can give a pretty good understanding. But I'm going to kind of take you through a process of a sales organization, and then I'm going to turn it over to Lon. He's going to show you a lot of this process within CRM. So from a marketing perspective, and here's an example I use for people who sell CRM, okay? So where do I have to go to sell CRM? Well, there's events out there that I got to participate, industry events, marketing events, customer service events, sales events. There's the user group communities, which many of you belong to, lots of events and happenings in there. There's this whole social web and social media thing we have to cover. So what's our strategy around, LinkedIn, around Google+, around Facebook? We've got to have a presence there. In the Microsoft world, there's lots of Microsoft salespeople who sell CRM. How do we refer? How do we get leads from them? And again, referral partners, right? So who in your world refers to you? I do a lot of work within associations, and I get work from those referrals from those associations. So I have referral partners I have to build a process for. So from a process perspective, you need to understand where your leads are coming from and how are you going to capture them in the CRM system. And once you capture them in the CRM system, how do we turn them over to the salespeople? Who do we turn them over to? And what do we do from to prepare these leads? What's the process for you? And it's a little different for every business, whether you're selling a high-end, high-ticket, high-value, long-process product, or is it more transactional product that you're selling or a service? So what do you do when that lead hits the door? Do you send them out an email, thank you for your information? Do you invite them to a webinar? There's a whole bunch of things that you can do to kind of keep that lead warm until it goes in the sales process. From the sales process, these are typically sent over to a salesperson, and then we teach salespeople how to research this lead. And again, this is where we can, technology really impacts us. 10 years ago, I didn't have things like LinkedIn. Well, maybe I had LinkedIn 10 years ago, but it's pretty close. But 15 years ago, I didn't have LinkedIn. It's very, very important to me that I can go in and I can look at LinkedIn and say, who is this person? Who are they attached to? What kind of groups do they belong to? I can tell whether they use CRM already when they call me by just seeing who they're interacted to, who they're connected to, and where they're hanging out in LinkedIn. So it gives me some background. I can find out about the company. I can use tools like Inside View, which comes with Dynamics CRM when you purchase it online. I can go in there and say, okay, I'm going after, ABC company wants to talk to me. Well, what is ABC company? What is their net worth? Where are they located around the world? Who's their VP of sales? Who's their VP of marketing? Who's their VP of customer service? And are they going to be part of this process? So there's so many tools now with technology that we can load up and we can see who we're dealing with, and we can get a complete picture of that organization and download that information right into our CRM without typing. Then we go through this whole qualification process. Once I'm a rep, I try to contact somebody and I qualify them. Well, if I qualify somebody, it's, I dispose of the lead. I say, hey, this is a current project that I move forward with, or this is a future project, and I don't have to move forward with it, but I have to keep it warm. Another thing that I teach salespeople is as you're qualifying and meeting people, always, link into them. Try to kind of build that relationship outside of the sales process a bit, but find out more and try to stay closer to the deal. It really, really works. And there's a whole other session I do on salespeople on LinkedIn, but it's a very, very powerful tool. But in this session, we're really going to focus on what do we do with a current project and what do we do with a future project. So from a current and future project perspective, many, many times when I'm involved with organizations who haven't figured out their sales process, who don't use CRM properly, what happens is a set of 10 leads will go out to the sales team. Sales team will qualify those leads and say, okay, here's 3 that have current projects or a current need that I need to follow up with. The other 7 never make it into a CRM system. So we may have met them at a trade show. We may be selling office furniture, and they may own offices, right? But they don't have a need right now, or may not have a need for 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. So typically, I've seen a lot of salespeople dispose of them, throw them out. In fact, I've seen salespeople sit through business cards at a trade show, and marketing's collected all these cards. Salesperson comes over, takes the cards, and builds 2 stacks. One stack I'm going to follow up with, and I've seen that salesperson take that other stack, throw them in the garbage. True story. So we need to capture that information, because if they're at the show, if they own offices, they need office furniture, what do we build for a keep warm strategy? And this is a very, very powerful part of CRM. So we can go in and say, you know, we qualified you, you're a furniture buyer, okay? Then we can add you to a marketing list that's either dynamic or static, and Lon's going to talk about that in a minute, where we can add you to a list, so automatically whatever marketing comes up with for furniture buyers, you're going to get that information over that year, over that 2 years, over that 3 years until you opt out. So we have a keep warm strategy. So without CRM, we lose a lot of annuity income. Because as salespeople, we know, you know, some things close relatively quickly, other things pop up after a couple of years. And if you're not using CRM, they may not pop up for you. Let's go back to the sales stages within the current process. So we can create an opportunity once we qualify, because it's a current project, we can go through and mark our stages off in the sales process. Now, many of us do that already, and in Dynamics 2013, there's a very powerful engine to be able to really analyze that process and the stage in that process. So you can tell, you know, did we do everything in stage 1? Did we do everything in stage 2? Did we do everything in stage 3? So in my stages are very simple for this presentation. I got overview presentation, needs analysis, build a solution, get a verbal agreement, create a proposal, build a solution. But you can have a whole set of subtasks underneath this, a whole set of sub-workflows underneath each one of these stages that notify everybody. A good example I always use is RFPs. We all love RFPs as sales professionals. But if we get an RFP and we put it in the opportunity manager and say, okay, this opportunity has an RFP attached, we can have a workflow trigger in the background, create all the tasks that are associated with that RFP. And we can have one of those sales stages, did you take and assign those tasks to the people that needed to do them? So we can make powerful engines that sort of keep us focused, keep us moving forward, but it can build a lot of workflow and team selling tasks that can make this a cleaner sale and streamline communications between people and departments. And from a management perspective, we can get a snapshot, we can get a desktop that shows us exactly what's going on, and when we want more detail, we can drill in and see. So as we move through the sales process, we're going to close the sale, which means overcoming objections, possibly negotiating and beating the competition. This can all be part of one of those sales stages. Did we go through this? Did we overcome all the objections? If not, which ones didn't we? Competition. So we can actually have, if we're up against this competitor, you know, we have to move into a different stage. And then once we go to close things, one of 3 things are going to happen. No, not yet, goes back into our keep warm strategy. No, lost, back into our keep warm strategy. Or yes, they become a customer. And then we have a customer onboarding process, which we've automated many times in CRM. Once we close this opportunity, an email goes out to accounting, hey, we've got a new account, here it is in the system, go get all the credit applications or something. So there's a lot of things that we can do to automate those business processes. Here's my favorite part, though, when we talk about process. We can build this new business development process and lead management process, opportunity process, but what I think is missing in many organizations is account management process. We got AAA accounts, our very best accounts, our A accounts, our B accounts, and our C accounts. What does that profile need to look like? Here's some of the things that I like to put into a profile. Who are the people that we need to do business with. So if I sell office furniture, then I need the office manager, I probably need the CFO, I probably need the head of maintenance, right? These are just off-the-cuff ideas, but depending on your business, you may need these. So if we add an account to the system and it's a AAA account or an A account, maybe we make those fields mandatory. That, hey, you've got to apply these within the next 30 days to this account. Again, we have an account profile. We can also have an account strategy built in there. So we can have a profile that says, okay, on these accounts, how big is the pie for office furniture? How many offices do they have? How many desks, how many chairs, that type of stuff? Who are they buying them off of now? And what's our strategy? So many times we've built strategy entities within CRM to say, okay, on the very best accounts, we need to have a strategy with a bunch of activities attached to it. Again, it just drives activity, drives thought, and keeps us on track. Now, I'm a long-term user of technology and sales. What I loved about it, you know, I was always a pretty high-performing salesperson, but what I loved about my CRM is I would turn it on, and there's a list of things I needed to do, right? And I get you have thought about, you know, it's follow-up that would have fell through the cracks, but this way it doesn't fall through the cracks. And as if you're a good salesperson, you have a lot of follow-up to do. Many times you're just going to send somebody an email, right? Because you can't get through in the call, or you can't have time to meet with them, but at least you're touching them, at least you're not neglecting them. Also in this account, you know, profile sort of thing, what do we need to do for the smaller customers, the C and B? Are they self-managed? Are they managed by an inside sales team? All these types of things we can start to figure out and build in our customer profiles to have a better chance of giving our customers a better customer experience. So we build out the profiles. The case management component of CRM we're not going to cover, but it's really the customer service component. If we have problems, if we have issues, how are we tracking them? And many times today, many organizations still track these through Outlook or Excel spreadsheets. Well, this is part of CRM. Also, how do we interact with these groups? Again, with our mailing list. Different types of customers can be different kinds of groups, and we can manage and take care of them differently. And this can be all associated back to campaigns that are outside of what the salesperson does, but more about what the marketing department can do to send messages, so forth, on to people. So there's a lot we can do in process and understand our sales process embedded in CRM. And what's wonderful about this is we can fine-tune it. We can move it around. We've got real data that tells us where the leads came from, real data that tells us who we won against in opportunities, but who we lost against. Real data to tell us who are the buyers at our customers and what's our strategy for touching them. So we can just get better and better at that whole sales process. Now I'm going to turn this over to Lon Orenstein, and he's going to show you in the real CRM what we're talking about here. Lon, over to you.
Okay, can you guys hear me all right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Let me get my screen shared. Share my desktop. And good. Does that look okay? Rick, Jason?
Very good, Lon.
Yep, it looks good.
Okay, cool. Okay, so welcome to everyone, and thanks for attending. What I'm going to tell you about today is sort of a general overview of Microsoft CRM, and in particular to be able to echo what Rick has said about how CRM can help you in your sales process, and obviously Microsoft CRM in particular could do that. So I'm using a demonstration organization here called FCS Demo, but what I've also done is to apply a new application that we're about to release. My company is Living Business Online, and we're bringing out what we CRM skinnies. As we say in Texas, we need to skinny that down. And what we find, especially with small to medium-sized business, in CRM is that there's a lot to it. There are companies that use Microsoft CRM with thousands of users, but if you have 25 users, you don't need the same thing, and the complexity is, in a lot of cases, overwhelming. So if you look right here, when I hover over Dynamics CRM, you see here it just says my work and settings and service and help and marketing. It would also say sales. And what we've done is to sort of contract this. So basically see accounts, contacts, activities, leads, and opportunities. Over to the right, you'll see marketing lists over here also, and reports. The idea is that this is sort of the focus, and certainly the focus of what we're talking about today about your sales process. I started with this dashboard. CRM has some great dashboards. You can see up here your typical sales funnel, your pipeline. Microsoft bought Yammer, and so this in the middle is a Yammer feed that you can use to keep track of who's done what to whom in the sales process. Down here, there's leads by source or top opportunities, or here are my opportunities by customer. And down here is a grid of my activities, tasks and phone calls that need to be made. The my part means that everybody that logs on is going to see the thing that they're responsible for. Those are their activities for that particular. And so these dashboards, lots of CRMs have dashboards. The thing I love about Microsoft's is that it's not just pretty pictures. You can see here when I hover over this little icon here and then click on it, a new window pops up of CRM, and it shows me this chart. But now all I have to do is click on the individual parts of this chart, and it drills into the data. So if I want to see what's in this orange section, which down here says that it's in the develop phase, as opposed to qualify or propose or presentation, all I do is click there, and I can see which deals are in that phase. If you're the sales manager, this is a great for you to be able to review which salespeople are doing what with which sales, and you can follow these through the process. And so being able to drill into this and to be able to represent it graphically, I think is a great way of using CRM. As I said a second ago, there are main modules inside of CRM. We're going to focus on sales today, but I'll give you a blurb about the service module and the marketing module. The marketing module is originally designed as sort of a, let's call it a plug-in or a folder. It has campaigns and it has marketing lists. What it doesn't have is the ability to send out emails. It doesn't do the blasting. You could do that through your own server, but typically it's not the smart way of doing it. And if you're doing any kind of large marketing, a lot of prospects or customers, you want to have a third party. So tools like Silverpop, Core Motives, that is a sponsor of today, does exactly that. And they bake that data and that functionality into CRM. And that's the that you use to say, well, I sent out 2,000 emails and I got amount of opens and this amount of click-throughs, and I can drill into that campaign, and I can see who's done what, who's responded. I can automate responses to that using workflows in CRM. And so that's the marketing piece. The service piece is built around a case tracking system. So, you know, if you call into a customer organization or a call center, they'll say, after they tell you that the call is going to be recorded, all those calls seem to be recorded, but I digress. They'll set up a ticket or a case or an incident, use some sort of a case tracking system, and that's the sort of the heart of service module inside of CRM. There's a knowledge base that goes along with that, so that you or your people can write articles that could be answers to general questions. So if somebody fills out a form on your website, creates a case, and a customer service person gets that, they can find an article that gives the answer, attach the article to the mail, send it back to the customer, mark the case closed, and move on. also a service activity.
Lon,
yeah.
Are you still in the sales activity dashboard?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Can you see that?
Yes.
No. I'm still on that. The service activity gives you the ability to schedule service activities. So the typical example I use is, let's say, heating and air conditioning repair company, and you needed to have a truck at Mr. Jones' house on Thursday at 2 o'clock. CRM will schedule that. It will even schedule things like you've got a Roto-Rooter that you need to take with you, and Bob's the only guy that can use the Roto-Rooter, and it's a 4-hour minimum. You can schedule all that in CRM. It syncs into Bob's smartphone, and now Bob knows where he needs to be at 2 o'clock on Thursday. So that's the service module. But today, we're going to talk about sales, and sales typically start with leads, as Rick talked about. And so I go in here to my open leads, and you can see here are a variety of views. You can set up all kinds of different views in CRM. Here are leads, influence, deals that we won, no campaign activity sent, leads older than 6 months. So think of these views as a combination of a report, because you can change all these different columns, and filtered data. So as I change from view to view, I instantly get new data. Just click on one of these, go into Robin Counts, and you'll see this is what a lead like in CRM with a little bit of customization. You can see up here the main information that I want to see. Where did the lead come from? What's my rating on it? What's our status on it? Who's the owner? In other words, what salesperson is assigned to it? I'm going to come back to this in a second, but down here you've got name and job title and rank and serial, all the basic information. You've got activities that are scheduled, tasks or phone calls or appointments. As you come down further, you can say, well, what company is that person associated with? There's a map to show you how to get to their office. Marketing information over here. What campaign did this person come in as a lead on or from? Can you send them bulk emails, allow or don't allow? So all of this is customizable. Everything in CRM is customizable, including the name. So, for example, if you don't want to call them leads and want to call them prospects or suspects, you can change the name of it. The key part in 2013, Microsoft has added that Rick has talked a lot about today, is this sales process bar. Excuse me, and this is actually Rick's full content. And so each of these are considered stages in the process, and within each stage, you have different steps. So you'll notice when I hover my mouse over a qualify stage, it says enter lead. But when I hover over the overview presentation, it says enter opportunity. So the way this works is that I start with qualify, and I can go through and I can say, well, what's their purchase time frame? What's their estimated budget? And how are they going to make a decision? And who's the decision maker? I can link that to contact in CRM. I can send out emails, I can schedule appointments, but at some point I'm going to say, you know, this guy's a real prospect, and I'm qualified. Now watch what happens. I'm looking here that says lead Robin, and when I click on qualify, what will happen, click on it correctly, it says there's already a match in here. Do we want to link it to an account or a contact? I'm going to say no. And I'm going to go into, my lead's gone. Now I have an opportunity. And that opportunity is linked to, this was Robin Counts, the originating lead, is the account for Consolidated Messenger. Now I have opportunity, and I can start going through this opportunity process and go through each of these different phases, different stages, to get through the process. It's easy for you to customize this if you want to do your own. See up here, I've got an estimated close date, estimated revenue. And so this is a way that you can bounce back and forth as you move through CRM. Now, if I hover over here, it says opportunity. If I want to go back lead and see some information there, I just click on qualify and I'm back on the lead row. So the way that Microsoft CRM has integrated this and be able to track the flow of this kind of sales process, I think is pretty slick, and it's a way that people really understand. What we see when train people on CRM is, especially the ones that want to use it throughout, it's not like they're having to learn a different program. It's just more Outlook because CRM is embedded directly into Outlook. I'm showing you this browser, which, by the way, you can use Internet Explorer, you can use Safari or Chrome, and you can see your CRM information that way. CRM makes it pretty easy to move around. This navigation is new with CRM 2013. If I wanted to go to leads and I wanted to go back to one of the leads that I had been working on, I can go directly back to that lead. If I'm looking at the lead and I want to go to the opportunity that is linked to this, then I can go into this stage, and now I'm in the opportunity for this guy who has the interesting name of Counts. If I want to go to the account, so CRM is on an account contact level. Those who are doing B2B business, business to business, as opposed to business to consumer, will typically have an account for a company that you're working with, and you'll have multiple contacts that are part of that account. So you see here, now I'm in the account view, and I have phone and email and site, and I can scroll down and see address. But over here I can see who's my primary contact. Well, that's Counts. I can see other contacts that are part of this. The mantra of CRM is that you have a 360-degree view of the customer. And this is where this comes into play when you look at it from the account level. I can look at activities over here. I can look at connections. I can look at opportunities. Again, I have a map to their office. I have market info down here. I have company profile over here. As Rick mentioned earlier, if we had hooked up Inside View, which is a new free service that Microsoft put together, I could go out and search like 300 different sources of information for insight and intelligence on this company, Margie Stroud, and that all gets pulled into CRM. So this is the bucket. This is the big view of an account. In front, you could get to any of the other all of the other parts are part of CRM. So you can see here there's activities, contacts, opportunities, connections, documents, quick shout out to SharePoint for documents. So Microsoft CRM and SharePoint, both online and on-premise, have been linked to CRM. So if I had this configured, I could click on documents and I would actually be able to attach documents to this account record, but they would be stored in SharePoint. So I get all of the features and functions of SharePoint, like being able to search thousands of documents instantly and find common text or threads or information that I was searching for, but it's also all organized and visible through CRM. And so that kind of integration with Office 365 and what Microsoft's doing with the cloud is I think, orders of magnitude ahead of any of their competitors. So this is where I can see all the different pieces of my and the different the different kinds of data that I'm tracking, all from right here. So back to, let's go look at opportunities again. You can see here we talked about my opportunities as opposed to closed opportunities or lost opportunities or opportunities closing next month or opportunities that were opened last week. All so are out of the box CRM. We didn't do anything to customize these, and but you can. One of the things that we've talked about lot in CRM is workflows. And workflows are one of the more powerful parts of CRM. And I wanted to give you sort of an overview of the way that those work. But I may not have. Okay. Let's look at this. This is the sales process, I think. Yeah, this is how we set up. When I showed you the sales process for full contact selling, this is the qualify phase in opportunity, and these are the other phases: review, presentation, needs analysis, build a solution, and these are the fields we want to make sure that people get. And this is where that we can say these are required or not required. And so this is how you can build that business process within CRM. I want to go back into settings for a second and show you. Oops. 1 second. Let's go to CRM has, out of the box, there is an organization, and you can see up here called FCS Demo. Within this organization, though, I can have multiple businesses. So those of you that might have subsidiaries, or you have maybe 2 or 3 different businesses, or even different sections or departments. Maybe you have a European division and a U.S. division and a Japan division. You can set those up as separate business units. With business units, you assign users, and in those users are then linked to the business unit, and each user is assigned a security role. This is where CRM can really scale. So if you look here under Sales Manager, this is one of the roles, and I'm just going to show you briefly the extent to which you can keep data separate from other people or allow people to share. You can see for every one of these, here's account, here's contact, here's lead. Down here it says you have no permissions. You have permissions only for yourself as a user. You have only for a business unit. You can look at parent-child business unit data, or you can look at data for the whole organization. And this, you can say, can this person create or read or write or delete or append any of the data? You can get into business management and do things like act on behalf of another user, or do bulk edit, allow them to use CRM on their phone, or let's disable the ability to export data to Excel. So the security and the sharing ability inside of CRM is pretty extensive. You can also then create teams. So teams are designed to span business units. Let's say you have a VP sales that would be in charge of the central and east and the west division, but you want each of the sales guys and sub-sales managers underneath to only see their own data for that division. Well, you could create a team so that the CEO and the CFO and the VP of sales or sales officer can see data across the whole organization. So, pretty extensive piece down in here. There is a ton of information here that I'm just not going to have time to get into. So what I think I'd rather do is spend the rest of the time, if you guys have some questions, please fire away. Or let me turn it back to Rick. Do you have some comments to finish up, Rick?
Yeah, I've got a couple more slides to come back to that. Thank you very much, Lon. And
sure.
You know what Lon really showed here was you know, the power of CRM and the flexibility that we can pretty much do. And we want to build whatever we want, we can build it in CRM. So it's a fantastic sort of foundation for our sales process. So Lon, can you just make me the presenter?
Yeah, I'm doing that, Rick.
Okay.
Okay, you should be presenter now.
All right. So you see my slides?
We do, yep.
Okay, so I've done a lot of sessions through different organizations on working with salespeople to get them to use CRM, because that's always the thing about the user adoption. And to me, is building this process and getting them to buy in the process and spending time to plan with your sales organization and make them part of the project on an early stage. But I've had a lot of feedback with the user community, with people who actually manage projects in the field. And here's some of the, I think there's 12 points here that we talked about in one of our last sessions. So if you're going to do this, make sure the project owner or the person who's responsible for the project comes out of the line of business. Like, we all respect CRM as being an IT project, but really it's going to change the dynamic of your business. So make sure there's marketing, customer service, and sales leaders involved with these strategies. Again, work with an experienced CRM professional. I know I'm a little bit biased, but I spent much of my career going in and unscrewing CRM systems that the IT department put together. They just didn't understand the whole process thing we were trying to do in sales and how these entities and workflows and stages all relate to each other. So it's much easier to work with someone like Lon, like myself, to get your foundation done. Always try to start with a small, infinite initial CRM rollout. Don't try to do the big bang. And I really like Lon's approach to it, where his skinny approach. Let's go through and put the basics out there first, and you're going to grow into your CRM system as user adoption increases. Re-engineer your processes before you roll it out. Don't look to CRM to be the foundation for your processes. It's not. It's a set of tools, it's a set of building blocks that you need to build your process in. If you use the process that comes with CRM per se out of the box, it's not going to fit your business, and it's going to cause problems. Spend time on design. I try to say a third, a third, and a third. 30 your budget towards design, 30 your budget towards build, 30 your budget towards what I call user adoption, training, ongoing support, all those types of things. Facilitate proof of concept. So what I'm saying here is build it and run it by your sales team. Number 7, good data. There's nothing more important when that new person opens up their CRM system and they have their data in it. Now I don't have to add my data, because especially, I'm full contact selling, I'm working with the sales team, expect your sales team to put all their data in. Don't expect them to do a very good job, and don't expect it to be correct and clean and have all your fields filled out, because they're on to the next sort of opportunity. They don't have time to stick around for data. So, there's lots of third-party data systems. I know D&B's out there. Inside You has the ability to build lists and pull it in. There's a lot of ways to get the data clean. So make sure that's in your project plan. Provide as much training and coaching as needed. If you have an older sales team and this is the first shot at really using technology, you're going to spend a lot more time on training and coaching. If you have a new young team, they're going to want to do, hey, give me a webinar, give me the basics, let me go, I'll come back to you with 50 questions. You got to really understand what those requirements are going to be. Management buy-in, number 9. Lon showed you those dashboards. Make sure you have some fantastic dashboards for your management team. We did a rollout a few years ago where I had the VP of sales in the room, the director of sales, and the sales manager. So when I had the reps in the room, I had them each sort of adding 10 leads or 10 opportunities to the system and putting all the value about those opportunities in. Well, the sales manager saw his territory. The director, she saw all the sales managers that reported to her on her dashboard, but the VP of sales saw everything going on his dashboard, and it was almost like you could see them light up and start to think, wow, I'm going to be working instead of on what we closed last month, I'm going to be able to do proper forecasting and things of that nature. Again, getting buy-in from the top is always better. Number 10, monitor usage. So when you put it out there, watch to see who's using it, watch to see who's not, and if they're not using it, go back to that coaching model and make sure they understand that this is important to your business and what's going on, and make sure you help them get going on it. Where appropriate, leverage third-party tools. There's a whole ecosystem, and I talked about gamification, I talked about these HR tools, these marketing automation tools. We got social listening tools coming from Microsoft. They just bought a company called NetBreeze that's going to give us the ability to go out and monitor social conversations. So if I'm looking for somebody who wants to buy office furniture, where are they having those conversations out there about office furniture? And those can come back as leads right into your system. It's a bit scary for some people, but that's where we are. And finally, I'm going to leave you with this. CRM is forever. Once you go down this CRM road in your organization, it becomes part of your culture. And if you talk to users that have it as part of their culture, they absolutely love it. So evangelize CRM across your organization, get involved with CRM user groups, get involved with these types of webinars, get involved with others who use CRM, and make the whole thing grow. So if you want help with your planning, I'm available, Rick McCutcheon. You can find me on LinkedIn pretty easy, Rick M at Full Contact Selling. If you need help with putting your CRM together, I highly recommend Lon Orenstein. So I'm going to leave you. When selling becomes part of your selling becomes a process, you take care of most of your business problems. Thanks, Jason, and I think we're going to open up the floor to any questions.
All right, thanks so much, Rick. Yeah, we would love to hear your questions. You can enter them on the right side there. We did have a couple inquiries about access to the slides. And before more of those come in, Rick, do you have a view on that, on how you might make those available, or if you can?
Yeah, I can make those available if you want to post them, Jason, or I can post them and we can tell the attendees where to get them.
Yeah, I would be happy to post them, maybe send them in one of our follow-up emails when we have the recording available. And we'd like to hear maybe from audience members some of the challenges they're thinking about as they see some of the process modeling or some of the planning that goes on in designing a CRM system. I know Rick and Lon have both seen a really wide range of different scenarios. So we'd certainly love to hear what your challenges are or what your experiences have been. Rick, you mentioned the kind of preferred ratio or the optimal ratio of resources and effort as a third, and a third. What are some maybe common maybe say misallocations of ratios that you see, and maybe you could talk about some ways that you would help someone maybe adjust that if you do see it getting a little off balance?
Most people don't look at their processes that I find. They get into looking at the spreadsheets that they've created before, or a lot of them will have a sales sheet that they use for getting prospect information, and they'll go right into the programming mode. So they'll start building and programming and building entities. And when the sales reps see these entities, it doesn't make sense to them because it doesn't have the flow in them. I think the way Microsoft has embedded the workflow now from the lead, okay, I get a lead in the system, here's the information I'm going to fill out, and here's the process I'm going to go through for this lead to qualify it. And then I hit qualify it, and it drops me into the opportunity, and then it says okay. And one thing, I don't know if Lon showed this or not, but you can have different opportunities. So you can have an SMB opportunity, a mid-market opportunity, enterprise opportunity, or a partner, you're working with a partner on opportunity. It'll throw you into a different process. So to a salesperson, process makes sense. Okay, I did that, I did that, I did that. So if you can figure out what those processes are for the different types of sales, and you can do that, and I use Visio for that, let's map it out in Visio. Okay, let's go back in the CRM and put it in the CRM. When I go back to train the people, we always say, okay, I'm going to show you some, and they probably, a lot of them have seen the Visio drawings by then, but for those who are new to it, we show them the Visio drawings and say, here is your process that your sales team has helped us design, and we get agreement right away. Okay, now let's go back to the CRM system and show you how we're going to work that process. So in order to do that, it takes a lot more time at the front figuring out exactly what you want to do, but I think you end up saving a lot of time and money because when you finally get to program it and add your data to it, you're pretty correct. You're like 80–90% there. Whereas the other way where you start programming these entities right away, I find there's a lot of reprogramming, reworking done. So what I try to say is spend as much time at least on the planning as you would on the building and programming.
All right, excellent. We have a question that just came in. How do we introduce gamification within a CRM 2013 environment? What would or could that look like, and what tools do we use to bring in relevant demographic data to see if our leads, into our CRM for leads if we are selling directly to consumers? So a couple of questions there.
So the first one on gamification, I'm doing some work now, and Lon as well, with a company called CRM Gamified. And they have a set of gaming dashboards that you apply to CRM. So the reps use CRM just like they would normally, but every time I put a lead in, I get so many points. Every time I convert a lead, I get so many points. If I put in an opportunity and it's got a value of 10,000, I may get 10 points. If I put in an opportunity that's got a value of 50,000, I get 50 points. And then it has a dashboard that you can put up in the sales room. And it's just like ESPN Sports Central, where it's got all your sales team and sort of who's winning, right? Who's doing the most. And it was interesting because I walked into a client this week that uses Dynamics CRM, and they didn't know about the gamification, but that's exactly what they were doing. They had this big paper dashboard that was up there, and as they would close opportunities, they'd put a big X on the wall, right? And it was a bunch of young salespeople competing against each other, and they gave each other a World Wrestling Federation belt they bought at Toys R Us, and they got their picture taken, and they put it on the wall. So what I said to my customer, I said, with the gamification, that can all be online, and we can have the photo of the belt and everything else, and we can create like Super Bowl rings for your salespeople. And it's all to get them sort of to compete with each other to let's add the most leads, let's close the most sales, who made the most calls today. And from what I'm seeing of this gamification stuff, it really, really works because they're in a very competitive environment in sales. So sorry, Jason, what was part 2 of that question?
Part 2. Bringing relevant demographic data into CRM for leads if we're selling directly to customers.
So where can you purchase the data?
I think so. I think the question was what tools could we use, but I think data sources
Yeah, so Inside View, I talked about that one. Also, Dun & Bradstreet, D&B, has a tool set for that. So you can go into D&B and say, we sell to these types of companies, and their data is all verified, and it pulls it in. Whereas Inside View does, they do scraping the internet for data. So they also have some very good data, and they have a different approach to it. So yes, there's these third-party companies that can absolutely supply you with that type of data.
All right, I'm just checking a couple of other questions that have come in here. As an IT department that is, and maybe we can give this one to Lon since I know he started to answer it. As an IT department that is new to working with CRM, what sources do you recommend to further enhance our knowledge base?
Yeah, I started to answer that for Michael. In CRM, in Microsoft CRM, there is a resource center which has now been renamed to Customer Source. And so inside of Customer Source are a bunch of PDFs and documents that can help answer those questions for Michael. Also on YouTube, there is a Microsoft CRM channel, and a number of the partners have added videos to that. So there are a ton of different videos on different topics. The CRM user group is another resource that there are constant forums or continual forums where people post questions and the community answers, and Microsoft has forums under answers.microsoft.com that where you can post questions, and community members and the MVPs. Rick is a CRM MVP that are there and contribute and answer questions. So there are a bunch of community sources that are available. Plus, as part of your subscription, by the by, from Microsoft. You have a support contract included in that if you're using CRM Online in particular. So that should help.
All right, and we do have one last question here, Rick. Well, I think maybe this might be a little more aimed toward Lon, but the question is, we have 4 separate companies using a common customer base, CRM 4.0, and a single business unit. Is it possible to, I'm wondering if I use separate business units, would I be able to give certain users visibility across the units?
Yeah, I'm reading the rest of this. 4 separate companies use common customer base, using the same 4.0 install with a single business unit. I wonder if I use separate business units, would I be able to give certain users visibility? Would accounts in business user 1 be able to access accessible in business unit 2? My general answer is yes. However, the qualification is that CRM 4.0 is 2 generations behind. There was CRM 2011 after that, and now CRM 2013 rolled out last fall. So I haven't accessed a lot of those brain cells for 4.0 in a while. But the answer is, if 4.0 allows you to use Teams, and I think they introduced it towards the end of 4.0, then yes, you should be able to set up a team that spans business units. That's the main function for a team, is to be able to give permission to people to look at data across business units. Where you say, would accounts in business unit 1 be accessible in business unit 2? Yes, to that team that you set up to be able to span those different business units. So
and
the answer is yes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I just got a little clarification from the person asking the question. The question was sort of aimed toward 2013.
Okay. So the answer is absolutely yes in 2013. That's exactly how it works.
All right, well, we are a little beyond our time here, and we've reached the end of our question queue. So let me just take a moment to thank Lon and Rick once again for taking the time today to present to us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was our pleasure to host you, and thanks to everyone who's still on the line. We really appreciate you attending today. Great questions, and please be on the lookout for the recording that will be coming up soon. We'll keep you updated about that and other CRM events that we've got planned this spring. So thanks.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Lon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Yep. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.